Very good evening, all. Please reply those who have joined live. Reply about the audio and video quality. Is it clear? Quickly reply. Live student, those who joined the live, please quickly reply whether audio and video quality is clear so that we can immediately start the lecture. Please reply about audio and video quality. I am just waiting. Quickly reply, guys. Those who have joined live, you'll have to reply whether audio and video is clear. Clear, okay. So, welcome back, guys. In this session, we will continue our discussion on the remaining part of that employee topic. In the first part of that topic, we have completed basic formulas, that is time rate formula, piece rate formula, Halsey Rowan. Formula for time rate was hours work multiplied by rate per hour, piece rate, unit works or unit produced multiplied by rate per unit. Or in case of that Halsey, hours work into rate per hour plus 50% of time saved multiplied by rate per hour. In case of Rowan, hours work multiplied by rate per hour plus time saved upon time allowed into bracket hours work multiplied by rate per hour. Then we have seen formula time saved. Time saved is equal to time allowed minus time taken. Time saved is equal to time allowed minus time taken. And guys, how to calculate the time allowed? We have seen in the last part of the lecture, we use input and output ratio. Okay, so standard input output ratio, we use that, and accordingly for actual output, how much hours will be required, we have calculated. Then we have seen effective earning per hour. Effective earning per hour formula was very simple. Total earning divided by hours work. So if you want to calculate effective earning under Halsey, first of all, you will write there hours work into rate per hour plus 50% of time saved into rate per hour. Entire formula will be divided by hours work. So total earning divided by hours work will be your effective earning. Then in the last part, we have seen labor turnover. Labor turnover will be calculated with the help of three formulas, that is separation method, replacement method, and flux method. Under separation method, we have calculated a very simple formula, separation method. Number of workers separated divided by average number of workers into 100. In the worker separated, we consider worker left and discharge. Then next part we have completed, and the next part we have concerned about the replacement method. Number of worker replaced divided by average number of worker multiplied by 100. Very important line we have written yesterday or in the last lecture. Number of worker replaced will not include new recruitment for expansion. It will not include new recruitment for expansion. Next one, flux method. Flux method is just a combination of these two methods. So guys, number of workers separated plus number of workers replaced plus new recruitment for expansion, if any, divided by average number of workers. Average number of worker was very simple. Average number of worker is equal to guys, opening worker plus closing worker divided by 2. This is how we have calculated that employee turnover, labor turnover. Now, Sarji, let's go to the next very important and interesting part. Only two parts are remaining of this topic, that is treatment of overtime and treatment of idle time. First of all, quickly we will discuss the treatment of overtime, then we'll go to the treatment of idle time. Now, what do you mean by overtime? If the worker is working more than the normal hours, if the worker are working more than the normal hours, that extra hours is called as a overtime. Now, overtime guys, is beyond the normal hours. So we will see the various reasons of the overtime. There are 5 reasons of the overtime, and it will be having a different treatment. Now, as per the Factories Act, when overtime will be considered, if you are working, if you are working more than, if you are working more than 9 hours a day, or if you are working more than 48 hours a week, then it will be termed as a overtime as per the Factories Act. I will repeat. If you are working, yes, guys, boys and girls, if you are working more than 9 hours a day, in one day you are working more than 9 hours, and if you are working more than 48 hours in any week, then it will be treated as a overtime. Remember, this is not and. The word they have used is or. So beyond 9 hours or 48 hours, if you are exceeding in a week and 9 hours a day, it will be treated as your overtime. And as per the Factories Act, overtime will be paid double the normal rate. Now, what do you mean by that double the normal rate? If the worker are getting the wages on the basis of time rate at 100 rupees per hour, then under overtime, wages will be 100 will be the basic and premium will be 100%. 100 plus 100, your answer will be 200. So overtime will be paid at double the normal rate. So this is your part of that Factories Act. Next, guys, let's see the various treatments of labor idle time. Oh, sorry, labor overtime. First cause of labor overtime. If the labor overtime is, if the labor overtime is worked at the request of the customer, customer want expedited delivery, customer wants urgent delivery. So if the customer wants that urgent delivery, fast delivery, and for that purpose, they requested us for that fast delivery, then whatever the premium which we are paying, remember guys, we're talking about the premium, whatever the premium we are paying, premium will be charged to the job or the customer directly. Entire premium, entire extra cost will be recovered from that customer who requested to work overtime. Okay, so first situation we have covered. If the overtime is work at the request of the customer, then entire premium will be recovered from that customer. Now let's go to the second. If the overtime is done to make a normal shortfall in a production, if your production is not as per your schedule, you are behind your schedule of the production. So in such a situation, because of the normal reason or there is a sudden increase in the demand, to cope up these, you are working overtime. In such a situation, overtime premium will be transferred to factory overhead. Yes, guys, overtime premium. I'm just talking about the premium. Premium will be transferred to factory overhead. Okay. Now, next situation, third situation, guys. If overtime is work because of the fault of any other department, let's say, for example, there are two departments. First department is a purchase department, and another department is a production department. Purchase department failed to purchase raw material in time. Purchase department failed to purchase raw material in time. Okay, reorder level was not maintained. So you are not getting the material in time. Because of that, production get affected. So to cope up with this, production department decided to work overtime. Now, overtime is worked by the production department because of the fault of another department, that is purchase department. In such a situation, whatever the premium extra charge for that overtime will be charged to that department who is in default. So in our example, default department is purchase department. So entire premium will be recovered, will be charged to the department who is in default. Okay. Now let's go to the next situation. And next situation is that if overtime is work, if overtime is work because of the abnormal reason, fire, flood, natural calamity, suppose COVID situation is there. So if there is any abnormal circumstances, because of that you are working overtime, then premium will be charged to costing profit and loss account. In such a situation, entire premium will be charged to costing profit and loss account. And last situation, if you are working overtime because there is a permanent, there is a consistent shortage of the worker. If your worker are short, there is a permanent shortage of the worker. In such a situation, guys, boys and girls, whatever the overtime premium will be, Sanjeev, for that purpose, you'll have to inflate the wage rate. Okay, what is the situation, guys? Here you'll have to inflate the wage rate. Now, how to inflate the wage rate? We are going to work with the help of some practical question. So, this is your guys causes of overtime and treatment of overtime. So, let's quickly revise. As per the Factories Act, overtime will be considered if in a day you are working more than 9 hours. Excess hours above 9 hours will be treated as overtime hours. Or if in a week you are working more than 48 hours, then it will be treated as overtime. In the overtime, you will be payable double the normal rate. So 100% premium will be charged. Now, what are the treatment? So there are five situation. There are five situation of that overtime. First situation is that overtime is work at the request of the customer. Then premium will be recovered from the customer. That specific customer who need urgent delivery. Second situation we have covered where overtime is work to cope up the demand. Overtime is work because there is there is a sudden increase in demand, or there is a normal reason because of that you are lagging behind the schedule. In such a situation, overtime premium will be charged to factory overhead. Now, third situation, overtime is work because of the fault of any other department. Overtime is work at the fault because of the fault of any other department. As we have taken one example that overtime is work because of the fault of that purchase department. In such a situation, whatever the premium you are paying, premium will be recovered, premium will be charged to the department who is in default. In the fourth situation we have seen, if overtime is work because of the abnormal reason like flood, natural calamity, earthquake, COVID situation, rights, etc. Whatever the abnormal situation is there, in such a situation, whatever the premium you are paying, so premium will be charged to, transferred to costing, profit and loss account. That's it. So simple, guys. Next situation. Next situation is that if overtime is work permanently because of the shortage of the worker, in such a situation, you'll have to inflate the wage rate. So this is overtime and its treatment. Now let's go to the next part, that is idle time. Now, what do you mean by idle time? Guys, idle time. Idle time means that worker is present in the factory. You are paying to the worker, but work is not done. Okay, worker is present into the factory. Okay, worker is present in the factory, but he is not working. Still, you are going to pay. So that is called as a idle time. Okay, now there are two reasons of the idle time. First reason will be the normal, and another reason will be the abnormal. Now let's see the examples of the normal idle time. So normal idle time example are very simple: tea break, lunch break, coffee break, okay, refreshment break, fatigue break, etc. So these are the situation where compulsorily you'll have to give a break. So as I told you, such a tea break, coffee break, refreshment break, these are all normal circumstances you must give every day to the worker. Next situation, time gap between worker is entering into the factory, means from the factory gate till the production floor, the time gap, it is called as a normal idle time. Next situation, time required for the setup of the machinery is a normal idle time. Surgery time required between two operations. Say for example, there are two lectures. After first lecture, obviously there should be 1, 2 or 5 minute break to start with the second lecture, because then another faculty will come and all the recording setup will be done. So there will be a time gap. So in the production department, time gap between the two activities or two production guys process, it is a normal idle time. So these are all the normal time: setup time, time between the two batches, then time from the factory gate to the production floor, tea break, lunch break, coffee break, and refreshment break, fatigue break. These are all the reasons of the normal idle time. Now let's see its treatment. Normal idle time, guys. Normal idle time treatment will be given into two parts. First worker can be a direct worker and another worker can be an indirect worker. I will give you one simple line: direct worker inflate the wage rate. Inflate wage rate. I'll give you example of that inflate the wage rate. How to inflate the wage rate? So direct worker, if normal idle time is there, you'll have to inflate the wage rate. For indirect worker, guys, obviously will transfer indirect worker wages to the factory overhead. So idle time of the indirect wages will also be transferred to the factory overheads. Next situation, if idle time is because of the abnormal reason like lack of coordination, defective planning, power failure, machine breakdown, raw material not available, you have not purchased the raw material in time, strike, lockdown, poor supervision, fire, flood, etc., whatever the abnormal situation. In such a situation, if you are paying the worker, that idle time wages will be transferred to costing, profit and loss account. Yes, boys and girls, it will be transferred to costing, profit and loss account. So guys, boys and girls, this idle time, as I told you, will be divided into two parts. First one will be the normal idle time, and second one will be the abnormal idle time. Normal reason we have seen, abnormal reason we have seen. Normal, we have two treatment. For the direct worker, we'll have to inflate the wage rate. For the indirect worker, guys, will transfer that in idle time cost to the factory overheads. Next situation, we have seen that abnormal reason is there. Abnormal reason is there, like a lack of coordination, fire, etc., natural calamity. Okay, in such a situation, that idle time wages will be transferred to costing, profit and loss account. Now let's see with the help of the example how to calculate that inflated wage rate. See, for example, boys and girls, worker is getting wages per hour. Worker is getting wages per hour. Say for example, 200 rupees. Okay, 200 rupees. Normally in a day, worker is present in a factory for 8 hours. Worker is present in a factory for 8 hours. So 200 multiplied by 8, you can check that. So the total wages for one day is 1600. Total wages for one day is 1600. Now let's see, boys and girls. Say for example, 2 hours is a normal idle time. 2 hours is a normal idle time. Lunch break, tea break, refreshment break, coffee break. Then we have also some break, as I told you, fatigue break, and so on. Or time between the two production process. Okay, time required for the setup, normal maintenance of the machine. These are all the normal idle time which are included per day is 2 hours. Now, actual hours worked by that employee is only 6 hours. Normally, every day that worker works for 6 hours. Now, how to calculate that inflated wage rate is very simple. Guys, total wages for the day is 1600. Total gross hours are 8 minus normal hours, normal idle time hours are 2. So 1600 divided by 6. Yeah, guys. So 1600 divided by 6, you can check that your rate is 266.66667. So rate is inflated from 200 rupees to 266.667 rupees. Okay. So I'll take one more example for you. Everyone please concentrate. I'll take one more example for you, and that example is that suppose a rate is 100 rupees per hour. Normal hours are, so the gross hours are, not normal, gross hours per day are 8 hours. Normal idle time is given. Normal idle time is given, which is nothing but, say for example, 1 hour. Every day 1 hour will be lost because of the normal idle time. Okay. Now actual hours worked is equal to, boys and girls, actual hours worked by Darshan. Say for example, Darshan is one of the worker. Actual hours worked by the Darshan is 6 hours. You can check that. Worker is present. Darshan is present in a factory for 8 hours. 1 hour is your normal idle time. Tea break, lunch break, coffee break, and refreshment break. Okay, but actual time is 6 hours. Now it is given in the question, 1 hour extra lost due to power failure. 1 hour extra loss is due to power failure. Now you can check that total hours are 8. 1 hour is a normal idle time. So normally you should work for 7 hours, but actually you have worked for 6 hours. 1 hour extra loss because of that power failure, machine breakdown, etc. So it will be an abnormal idle time. Now let's see what will be the treatment. Now let's see what will be the treatment. Treatment will be very simple. Treatment will be very simple. and total wages 100 multiplied by 8. So total wages are 800. Normal hours are 7 hours. Therefore, effective rate per hour you can check that 800 divided by 7, effective rate per hour is 114.2857. You can check that your wage rate is inflated. You can check that your wage rate is inflated from 100 rupees to 114.2857. Okay. Now, for normal idle time, wage rate should be inflated. For abnormal idle time, for abnormal idle time, you'll transfer that abnormal idle time to costing profit and loss account. So 1 hour is abnormal idle time. Now you'll transfer 114.2857 to the costing profit and loss account. So amount will be 114.2857. This amount will be transferred to costing profit and loss account. So yes, so this is your treatment of idle time, normal idle time and abnormal idle time. So boys and girls, let's work out on a practical question and let's understand this concept. I hope so everyone is clear with this. So first of all, you'll have to give a treatment of normal idle time by inflating the wage rate. As I told you, 100 rupees per hour is a rate. Multiplied by 8 hours, total worker is getting 800 per day. Normal 7 hours are there. So 800 divided by 7, 114.2857 is your effective rate, inflated rate. Rate is inflated from 100 rupees to 114.2857. There is an abnormal idle time of 1 hour. So 1 hour into 114.2857, it will be transferred to costing profit and loss account. You will transfer this to costing profit and loss account. I hope this point is clear to every one of you. Now let's solve more question on this idle time, more question on this overtime. So everybody please come to very important question, that is question number 5. 1 to 4 question we have solved in the previous lecture. Everybody please come to question number 5. Following data have been extracted from books of EBC Private Limited. Particulars and amount something. First question is of the idle time and the second question will be of that second and third question. I think so 2 questions are there for overtime. So first of all, quickly work on that idle time concept. You know. Let's see. Following data have been extracted from the books of EBC Private Limited. Salary, each employee per month 30,000. Bonus is 25% of the salary. Employer's contribution to Provident Fund and ESI. ESI means state insurance. So contribution to Provident Fund and ESI is given 15% of the salary. Total cost at the employees welfare activity is 6,61,500. Total leave permitted during the year are 30 days. So allowable leave are 30 days. Number of employees are 175 employees. ठीक है. Normal idle time is 70 hours per annum. Abnormal idle time due to the failure of the power. Okay. So the abnormal idle time, as I told you, it will be transferred to costing profit and loss account. Working days per annum is 310 days of 8 hours. So on an average, you are going to work for 310 days for 8 hours. Except that idle time, leave, etc., absenteeism, it is given in the question. You are required to calculate annual cost of each employee. Annual cost. Here you'll have to calculate annual cost, not monthly. Next one, employee cost per hour. You will calculate now employee cost per hour and cost of abnormal idle time per employee. So this is your answer question. Let's quickly complete that. Salary. How much is salary? 30,000. So boys and girls, 30,000 is the salary. 30,000 multiplied by 12. So 30,000 multiplied by 12, 3,60,000 per annum is your salary. So I'll write here 3,60,000. Now let's go to the second item. First item we have completed. Let's go to the second item. Second item is a bonus, 25% of the salary. So 3,60,000 into 25%, 90,000 will be the bonus. Next situation, employer contribution to provident fund, and that ESI is 15% of the salary. So 3,60,000 multiplied by 0.15, 54,000 is your answer. Next situation, welfare, employee welfare activities conducted by the employer. Total amount incurred per annum is 6,61,500. 6,61,500 is the total amount incurred divided by 175 employees, because this cost is not for one employee. 6,61,500 is a cost for entire 175 employees. So divided by 175. So 3780 is your answer. 3780 is your answer. Now let's see annual cost of one employee. 3780 plus 54,000 plus 90,000 plus 3,60,000. Boys and girls, total cost comes to 5,07,780. Now I'll give one working note, and that working note will be the effective working hours. Now how much are the total hours? You can check in the question. There are 310 days multiplied by 8 hours a day. So 310 days multiplied by 8 hours a day, your answer comes to 2480. So yeah guys. Now let's leave hours. You can check that how many days leave are there. 30 days permitted leave. So 30 days will be the absenteeism. So 30 days multiplied by 8 hours a day. So it will be 240. Now your gross working days will be 2480 minus 240, 240. Next one, normal hours idle time also given in the question. Normal idle time is 70 hours per annum. So be careful, 70 hours per annum is your normal idle time. Now effective hours you will have to check, Prabhu. How much will be the effective hours? So 2240 minus 70, 2170 is your effective hours available, normal hours available per worker. So immediately we will divide this total cost of 5,07,780 divided by 2170. Your answer comes to 234. So your inflated wage rate will be 234. And now they have given one more question over there. And the question is, how much amount will be transferred to costing profit and loss account because of that abnormal idle time? Now, how much hours are lost due to abnormal idle time, like a power failure? 50 hours is lost. Therefore, amount transferred to costing profit and loss account, amount transferred to costing profit and loss account, it will be 50 hours. 50 hours multiplied by 2170. So not 2170, extremely sorry, sir, 234, extremely sorry, 234. So 234 is a rate, 50 hours is your abnormal idle time, 11,700 will be transferred to costing profit and loss account because of the abnormal idle time. I hope so everyone is able to understand this. So please reply whether you have got this concept or not. Yes, guys. So first of all, you'll have to calculate that effective hours. Then you calculate the total earnings divided by effective hours will be your wage rate per hour. And abnormal idle time will be given later. Treatment will be given later. It will be transferred to costing profit and loss account. So this is a treatment of labor idle time. Normal and abnormal treatment. Both the treatment I have given to you. Now let's move ahead, Prabhu. Let's go and understand most important part, and that important part is overtime and its treatment. Mark this question number 6 important. Mark question number 7 important. You should revise these both the question before examination. Question number 6. In a factory, the basic wage rate is 100 rupees per hour and overtime rate are as follows. Before and after normal working hours, 175% of basic wage rate. Before and after the normal working hours, 175% of basic wage rate. Say for example, your shift is from 10 to 5. Okay. Your shift is from 10 to 5 or 10 to 6, whatever. So if the worker is working before 10 o'clock, or if the worker is working after 6 o'clock, suppose 10 to 6 is your shift and the worker is coming before 10 o'clock and worker is working after 10 o'clock. So before and after, you will have to pay 175% of the basic wage rate. In this situation, 100 will be the basic wages and 75 will be the premium. Total payment will be 175, Prabhu. Total payment will be 175. Now, if the worker is working on Sunday and holiday, 225% of the basic wage rate. 225% of the basic wage rate. So Sunday and holiday. So 225% means what? 100 will be your basic wages, 125 will be your premium, 225 will be payable if the worker is working in any Sunday or holiday. Okay. So normal hours you are going to pay for 100. Before and after your normal working hours, you'll have to pay at 175. Sunday and holiday, you'll have to pay at 225. During the previous year, the following hours were worked. Normal time 1 lakh hours. Overtime before and after the working hours are 20,000. Overtime on Sunday and holiday 5,000 hours. Total 1,25,000 hours worked in the last year. Now you can check that in the last year, normal hours are 1 lakh. So 1 lakh will be multiplied with the 100 rupees. Before and after, you have worked for 20,000 hours. So multiplied by 175. Then 5,000 hours you are working on Sunday and holidays. So it will be multiplied with the 225. So this is how 1,25,000 should have been paid in the last year. Following hours have been worked on job number Z. Okay. Now job number Z, you can check that overtime before and after the working hours. Sorry, normal hours are 1,000. Before and after normal hours are 100 hours. Sunday and holiday, you are working for 25 hours for the job number Z. This data entire is given for job number Z. Now you can check that. 1125 are your total hours. Now let's move ahead. Let's see the reason for that overtime working. You are required to calculate the labor cost chargeable to job number Z and overhead in each of the following instances. So quickly we will recall that overtime and its treatment. First, if overtime is work at the request of the customer, entire premium will be recovered from the customer. Now what is the premium? Already I have told you guys, 75 rupees is the premium, 125 rupees is the premium extra which you are paying over and above the basic wage rate. So where overtime is work at the request of the customer, entire premium will be recovered from the customer. Second, if overtime is work, normally because of there is a shortfall in the production, there is a sudden increase in the demand, normal reasons are there, then in such a situation, overtime premium will be transferred to overhead account. Third, if the overtime is work because of the fault of any other department, charge premium to that department who is in department which is in default. Fourth situation, if overtime is work because of the abnormal reason, then overtime premium will be transferred to costing profit and loss account. And if overtime is work because of there is a permanent shortage of the worker, in such a situation, what you'll do? You'll have to inflate the wage rate. Now let's see the three situations given in this question. First situation, overtime is work regularly throughout the year due to the worker shortage. Okay, so overtime is work because of the shortage of the worker, and as I told you, if the overtime is work because of the shortage of the worker, you'll have to inflate the wage rate. Now let's calculate the inflated wage rate. Okay, now let's see. So how much is your basic wage rate? Basic wage rate is 100 rupees per hour. Now, if you are working before and after, then 100 and 175% is your total wages. So you can check that 175 rupees will be the rate per hour. Overtime wages, if you are working on Sunday and holiday, so it will be 225% of 100, which will be 225. Okay. Now let's see. let's calculate the wages which you have paid in the last year. Wages which you have paid in the last year. Okay, in the last year, gross hours work are 1 lakh, I think so, 25,000. Out of that, 1 lakh hours was normal hours. For normal hours, you'll have to multiply by 100. So your amount comes to 1 crore. Is it correct, Prabhu? Next one, wages for overtime before and after the working hours. So 20,000 multiplied by 175, total wages will be 35 lakhs. On Sunday and holiday, 5,000 hours multiplied by 225, it will be 11 lakh 25,000. Now you can check that total wages paid in the last year, 11 lakh 25,000 plus 35 lakhs plus 1 crore. So total will be 1 crore 46 lakh 25,000 is your total wages paid in the last year, and you'll have to calculate inflated wage rate. So it will be divided by 1 lakh total 25,000 hours. So your inflated wage rate is 117. Your inflated wage rate is 117. So if the overtime is worked regularly because of the shortage of the worker, you'll have to first calculate the inflated wage rate. Now don't use the data for the job number Z, because job number Z is one of the job. Boys and girls, job number Z is one of the job, guys. One of the job. Guys, it will be impossible for the accounts department to maintain the separate data for each job. If you are working thousands of the job, then you cannot calculate a separate rate for the worker for each and every job. So that's why we have used the last year data for calculation of that inflated wage rate. Okay, don't use this actual data, because this is just one of the job. You can check that in 1 year 1,25,000 was the total hours, and this data is only for 1125, and it will not be a logical one, it will not be a physical one to calculate the wage rate for each and every job. So it will be very difficult to maintain the record. That's why we use the last year data. So if the worker is working regular overtime, because of the shortage of the worker, we have inflated the wage rate. So amount chargeable to job number Z will be very simple. Job number Z total hours work are 1125, I think so. Total hours work are 1125. So very simple. Total hours are 1125 multiplied by 117. So total will be 1,31,625 will be chargeable to job number Z. In this situation, nothing will be chargeable to overhead account. Nothing will be chargeable to overhead account. Now let's see the second situation, guys. First situation is completed. Guys, if overtime is worked irregularly to meet the requirement of the production, as I told you, you are working overtime normally because there is a shortfall in the production. Normally, you are working the overtime. Irregularly, you are working the overtime. In such situation, overtime premium will be transferred to overtime premium will be transferred to overhead account. Now, what it is, guys? Let's see. Now, what it is? Let's see, guys. Basic wage rate chargeable to job and premium will be what it is given. Basic wage rate is chargeable to job and premium will be charged to the factory overhead as follows. So amount chargeable to job number Z will be 1125 hours totally work for job multiplied by 100. Okay, so 1125 multiplied by 100, guys, boys and girls, your total payment, total amount chargeable to that job will be 1,12,500. Now factory overhead premium will be transferred to factory overhead. Premium. What do you mean by premium? Saji, extra is called as that premium. Premium will be transferred to factory overhead. Now, how much extra you have worked before and after? Before and after. How many hours you have worked for job number Z before and after your normal time? It is given 100 hours. Okay, so that 100 hours will be multiplied. Don't multiply with 175. Now you will multiply with the 75, because already in that 1125 hours, guys, 100 hours are already included. So basic wages are already covered. Here we are talking about the premium part. So premium will be 7,500. Next one, Sunday and holiday. For how many hours Sunday and holiday are there? You can check that for job number Z. कहा गया Sunday and holiday there are 25 hours. So 25 hours multiplied by premium will be 125. So 25 multiplied by 125, your answer will be 3125. So total premium amount will be 7,500. 7,500 plus 3125, it will be 10,625. So premium part will be transferred to guys factory overhead, and that basic wages will be recovered from job number Z, will be recovered from that customer. Let's read the third situation, guys. First and second situation we have covered. Now let's read the third situation. What is that third situation? Everybody please concentrate here for that third situation, where the overtime is work at the request of the customer to expedite the job. As I told you, if the worker, if you are working overtime because of the request of the customer, then entire premium will be recovered from that customer. In this situation, basic wage rate will also be recovered from the customer, and premium will also be recovered from the customer. So basic wages, which we have already calculated, will be 1,12,500, and premium will be 10,625. So both basic wages and premium will be recovered from the customer, and your answer will be 1,23,125. 1,23,125. So this is your treatment of worker overtime. I hope so everyone got this concept. Now, now we will solve one more question, Prabhu. We'll solve one more question, and one more question means I'll give you a hint of one question which is there in your module. Okay, let me go to that question, guys. Just a second. Give me a second, guys. Excuse me, sir. Sorry. Yes. Yes, sir. I have one more question for you, which is there in your module, which is there in your module, and that question is, suppose, say for example, question number 31. Let's discuss that question. We are not going to solve entire question. I'll give you just hint. It has been seen from the job card for the repairs of the customer equipment that total 154 labor hours have been put as detailed below. Worker A is paid 200 per day. 200 per day, boys and girls, for 8 hours. Worker B is paid 100 rupees per day of 8 hours. Worker C is paid 300 rupees per day of 8 hours. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and total. Okay. Now you can check that in terms of award in an employee conciliation, the worker are to be paid dearness allowance on the basis of cost of living index figure relating to the each month, working out to 968 for the relevant month. Dearness allowance is payable to the all worker irrespective of the wage rate if they are present or not, or they are on leave for with the wages on all working days. Sunday is a weekly holiday. Okay, you are not going to work for Sunday. Each worker has to work for 8 hours in all weekdays. Compulsorily, you'll have to work for 8 hours for all weekdays, but you'll have to work for 4 hours on Saturday. Very important adjustment. On Saturday, you'll have to work for 4 hours. The worker are, however, paid for full wages for Saturday, 8 hours for 4 hours work. Now, what is the condition over there, guys? Condition is very important. For the weekdays, Sunday is holiday. For the weekday, you'll have to compulsorily work for 8 hours, and on the Sunday, you'll have to work for minimum 4 hours. And if you are working for 4 hours, you'll get the wages for 8 hours. It is given in the question. So if you work for 4 hours, you will get a wages for 8 hours. If you work for 5 hours, you will get a wages for 8 hours. If you work for 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, you will get the wages for 8 hours. ठीक है? It is a condition given for Saturday. Worker are paid overtime according to the Factories Act. Okay, so we have already seen the payment system as per the Factories Act. Now, what is that payment system as per the Factories Act? Which is very simple. As per the Factories Act, if you are working more than 9 hours a day, it will be treated as overtime. And if you are working, or if you are working more than 48 hours a week, it will be also be treated as a overtime. Now let's see, Prabhu. Everyone, please concentrate here. Now, how to prepare a table? Let's understand that. I'll show for A, B, and C. You can check from the module. Okay. So this first column will be day. Next column will be normal hours. Next will be extra hours. Next column will be overtime hours. Next column will be total equivalent normal hours. Very, very, very important part. So day, normal hours, extra hours, overtime hours, total equivalent normal hours. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. On Monday, the worker is working for, you can check that. On Monday, I'll talk about A worker. I'll concentrate only on A worker. Monday, he is working for 10.5 hours. Now, what is the golden rule? Rule is given in this question that your normal hours per day is 8 hours. Normal hours per day is 8 hours. Okay. But overtime is not beyond 8. As per the Factories Act, overtime will be beyond 9 hours. So let's see how I am presenting this. So in this situation, although you are working for 10.5 hours, Prabhu, although you are working for 10.5 hours, normal hours will be 8, extra hours will be 1, because as per your company's policy, you are working only 8 hours a day on a weekdays minimum. Okay. For this extra hour 1, you will not get any guys premium, because what Factory Act is suggesting, Factory Act is suggesting that you are going to get the overtime beyond the 9 hours. So 8 hours is the normal hours of your organization, 1 hour is the extra hours. For that you will not get any overtime. Now overtime hours will be 1.5 hours. Are you agree with this, sir? Now what will be the amount of total equivalent normal hours? Very, very, very simple. 8 will be the normal hours, 1 will be the extra hours for which you are not going to get any premium. Now next one will be the overtime hours will be 1.5. So 1.5 multiplied by 2. Why 2? As per the Factories Act, overtime will be paid at double the normal rate. So for 1 hour, you will get the wages for 2 hours. So that's why 1.5 will be multiplied with the 2. So 1.5 multiplied by 2 plus 8 plus 1, guys, equivalent 12 hours you are going to get. How much you are going to get, guys? For 12 hours, you are going to get wages. Let's go to the next situation. Let's go to the next situation, and next situation is Tuesday. Only 8 hours is work. Khatam hai 8 dash dash 8. Next one. Guys, again 10.5 hours. So 10.5 hours, how you will bifurcate that? 8 hours will be the normal, 1 hour will be the extra for which overtime will not be available. So 8 plus 1, 9, but total is 10.5. 1.5 is overtime. For that overtime, you will get the double the normal rate. So 8 plus 1 plus 1.5 multiplied by 2. Again, guys, you will get the wages for 12 hours. Normal wages for 12 hours. Now, on Thursday, total 9.5 hours is worked by you. Very interesting, very important. 9.5 hours is worked by you. So, how we can check that? 8 hour will be the normal. 1 hour will be the extra. Overtime hours will be 0.5. Now, you can check that 8 plus 1 plus 0.5 multiplied by 2. You can check that 1 plus 1 plus 8. Total 10 hours. Total 10 hours will be the normal payment you will get. Next situation, you can check that on Saturday, On Saturday, sorry, Friday is pending. Okay, I'm extremely sorry. Friday 10.5 hours. So same calculation will be there for 10.5 hours. So 8, 1, 1.5 and total will be 12. Same calculation will be repeated. Saturday, worker A is not working. Over. Now take a total. It will be a normal hours payment. Dearness allowance is also applicable on these hours. So correct me if I'm wrong. 12 plus 8 plus 12 plus 10 plus 12, 54. Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Your answer will be 54. I hope so everyone is clear with this. So only one concern is there. Saturday, how to present? Worker B and worker C is working on Saturday as well, 8 hours and 8 hours. Now, how to present that 8 hours and 8 hours? I'll write with the red pen. So, worker B is working 8 hours in a Saturday. Minimum you'll have to work for 4 hours. Extra, he worked for 4 hours. What they have written? At least you'll have to work for 4 hours to get the wages of 8 hours. So, guys, he worked for 8 hours. So, normally he should work for 4 hours. But he is getting the wages for 8 hours. So, 4 hours he worked extra. Overtime is not applicable if you are working more than 4 hours. As per the factory, that Saturday there is no bifurcation. For weekdays different and Saturday is different. No, there is no bifurcation. So for Saturday, boys and girls, 9 hours a day, if it is exceeded, then only overtime is applicable. So here overtime will not be applicable. 8 hours you will write in total column. So this is very important observation in case of that worker B and worker C. Rest all the data will be similar for that worker A, B and C. Next one. Let's go to the next question, guys, boys and girls. Seventh question is very important. 2 times repeated in examination. Okay, in old syllabus, in new syllabus, recently also it is added in the new syllabus, Prabhu. Very, very, very important. Calculate the earnings of Jaydev from the following particulars for a month. Allocate the labor cost to each job X, Y, and Z. Particulars worker Jay, worker Dev. Basic wage is 15,000 and 30,000. DRS allowance is 50%, 50%. Contribution to Provident Fund 7%, 7.5%. Contribution to employee state insurance is 2%, 2%. Overtime is worked by Jay only. Overtime is worked by Jay only for 20 hours. Normal working hours for the month are 200. Normally you are going to work for 200 hours. Next one, overtime is paid at double the normal rate. Double the total of normal wages and dearness allowance. Okay. Employees contribution. Employees contribution to state insurance and provident fund are at the equal rate with the employer's contribution. Employees contribution to the state insurance and provident fund are at the equal rate with the employer's contribution. The two workers are employed on a job XYZ in the following proportion: job X, job Y, job Z. Worker J, worker Dev. Worker J devoted 75% time to job number X, 10% time to job number Y, 15% time to job number Z. Then worker Dev devoted 40%, 20% and 40% time. Now next situation. Overtime done by worker J only on job number X. Now you know that if overtime is work only on a specific job for request of the customer or only one job, then premium will be recovered from that customer only. So job number X, you'll have to recover the overtime premium. Next one. Ordinary, calculate the ordinary wage rate per hour of Jaydev. Allocate the worker cost to each job X, Y and Z. So I'll request you to read yourself question again. Everybody please read the question. Then I'll explain what do you mean by employer's contribution and what do you mean by employee's contribution. Okay? And what is the treatment, I will explain. So first of all, आराम से read question yourself. Yes, friends. I hope so. You have completed that. Now let's see. What do you mean by employer's contribution? What do you mean by employee's contribution and its treatment? Say, for example, basic wages. Forget about this question. I will refer one more question to understand it very in detail. Basic wage rate is 10,000. Dearness allowance is 100% of basic wages, which is nothing but 10,000. Guys, total wages is 20,000. Okay. Now in the question, it is given that employer's contribution, employer's contribution to a provident fund, it is given 10% of basic and dearness allowance, suppose, and employer's contribution to state insurance is given 5% of basic plus dearness allowance. So here it will be 2000, here it will be 1000. Now boys and girls, total wages, total labor cost to the employer will be 23,000. ठीक है? Worker in cash will get 20,000 immediately. Worker will get 20,000 in cash immediately, and on behalf of the worker, that employer is contributing in the government account, that is provident fund account, 2,000 rupees. So at the time of retirement death also, that worker or his family will get 2,000 rupees, means whatever the accumulated amount in that PF provident fund plus insurance, that employer is paying insurance premium of yours. So if any mishap is there, your family may get that insurance policy benefit. So this is an additional benefit. This is an additional benefit apart from the amount. Total amount in cash received by that employee will be 20,000. Plus additionally 2,000 and 1,000 will be deposited by that employer in that insurance and that provident fund. So 23,000 will be called as total labor cost to employer, because 20,000 cash paid plus 3,000 is deposited by that employer in government account. Now now the point is that, suppose in the question it is given that employee also contribute to the provident fund, employee also contribute to the state insurance, same rate of percentage is given like a employer contribution. Now the difference between employer contribution and employee's contribution is that employer contribution is voluntarily paid by the employer. It is in addition to the salary. Okay. So it is a benefit given by the employer, but the employee's contribution will not be paid from the pocket of the employer. It will be paid from the pocket of the employee. Amount will be deposited by the employer only, but employer के pocket से नहीं, employee के pocket से. Now let's see how much amount will be earned by that worker. अभी का कैश का अर्निंग कितना है? Earning will be, guys, basic wages 10,000. DNS allows 100% of basic wages 10,000. Total wages will be 20,000. Now from that 20,000, we'll have to subtract employees' contribution to provident fund and state insurance 2,000 and 1,000, because this is not voluntarily paid by the employer. This will be deducted from the whatever the cash is getting. So 20,000 minus 3,000, 17,000 will be the net earnings of the worker. What here? 17,000 will be the net earnings of that worker. I hope so. This point is clear. So while calculating the labor cost, employer's contribution will be added into the basic wages and dearness allowance. But while calculating the net earnings of the worker, employee's contribution will be deducted from that basic and dearness allowance. Okay. Now let's complete this very interesting question. So what is the basic wages of Jay and Dev? Basic wages of Jay and Dev is 15,000 and 30,000. How much it is? Basic wage rate 15,000 for Jay and Dev it will be 30,000. Next one. DNS allowance, you'll have to check that. How much is the DNS allowance? 50% of the basic wages. So here it will be 7,500 and here it will be 15,000. Now overtime wages. Overtime is worked by the worker J only. Overtime is work only for the job number X. Okay. And overtime is paid at the double the normal rate. Now we will calculate working note number 1 for that overtime wages. Gia. Now guys, overtime wages. Double the normal rate you will have to apply. So how much is the basic wage rate of that Jai? Jai ka basic wage rate is 15,000. Jai ka basic wage rate is 15,000. Plus DRS allowance is 7,500 into 2. Now what is 2? First ignore that. So total wages kitna aaya? 22,500. Right Prabhu? This is a wages for how many hours? Is it 200 hours? It is given in the question. Normal hours are 200. Okay. Now how much is a normal wages per hour? Wages per hour normal 22500 divided by 200. Guys, 112.5 per hour you are getting. So for overtime you will get double the normal rate. You will get basic plus you will get a premium. You will get a basic plus you will get a premium. Now how much will be the basic? You can check that. Basic will be 112.5. Premium will be 100%. It is given in the question. So it will be 112.5 only. So is it 225 Prabhu? Into 2 if you are working, it will be 225. Yes sir. So overtime is 225 rupees per hour. Now how many hours are worked overtime? You can check. 20 hours are worked overtime. Therefore, total overtime wages 225 multiplied by 20 hours, it will be 4,500. I hope so. This point is absolutely clear to every one of you. So what I have done, overtime is double the normal basic wage rate and DNS allowance. So basic wage rate is 15,000, DNS allowance is 7,500. So total comes to 22,500. Normal hours are given in the question. You can check that you read that question 2 times. Normal working hours for the month are 200 hours. So these 22,500 you'll get for 200 hours. So normal basic wage rate per hour is 112.5. Under overtime you will get double the normal rate. Double the normal rate means basic 112.5, premium also 112.5. So total per hour 225. Overtime is work for 20 hours, so 4,500 will be your overtime wages. I'll write that 4,500 here. Now, how much is your total wages earned? 15,000 plus 7,500 plus 4,500. It comes to 27,000. Yes or no? Then, guys, overtime is not there for day worker, so it will be 45,000. Okay. Now, employer's contribution to provident fund. Employer contribution to the provident fund is 7% on basic wages they have told. So 15,000, 30,000 pay 7% and 7.5%. So 7% and 7.5% basic wage rate 15,000 multiplied by 7%, it comes to 1050. Then 30,000 multiplied by 7.5%, It will be 2250. ठीक है. Employer's contribution to state insurance, you can check that. How much it is, guys? 2% and 2%. Is it equal? 2% and 2%. ठीक है. So 2% and 2%. Now you can check that 15,000 multiplied by 2%. It will be 300 and 600. Now total wages paid, you can check that. 27,000 plus 1050 plus 300. Total wages paid 28,350. This will be the total labor cost. बरोबर है. Next one. Guys, 45,000 plus 2250 plus 600. It will be 47,850. 47,850. So this is your total wages paid. Now let's see what is your next question. Ordinary wage rate per hour of Jay and Dev. Ordinary wage rate. Now quickly calculate that ordinary wage rate. Ordinary will not include overtime. So basic wage rate plus DRS allowance will be 15,000 plus 7,500, 30,000 plus 15,000 plus employer's contribution to PF and ESI. PF contribution is 1050, ESI is 300, 2250 and 600. So guys, boys and girls, you can check that total ordinary wages of the worker will be 15,000 plus 7,500 plus 1050 plus 300. It will be 23,850. In the second scenario, 30,000 plus 15,000 plus 2250 plus 600. It will be 47,850. Okay, now divide by the ordinary hours. Your ordinary hours are 200. So 23,850 divided by 200. You can check that. Yes, Sarji. Is it 69.25? 47,850 divided by 200 hours. Is it 239.25? Perfect, guys. Ordinary basic wage rate will not include overtime. Now, what is your next question, guys? Next question is allocate the cost of Jay and Dev. Allocate the cost of Jay and Dev to this various job XYZ. Now you'll have to allocate the cost. Now, guys, boys and girls, what is the ordinary wages? 43,000. Sorry, ordinary wages 23,850. This 23,850 will be allocated to job XYZ in the ratio given in the question. 75%, 10%, 15%. So 23,850 multiplied by 0.75, 17,887.5. Job number Y, you can check that 0.10 if you take, it will be 2,385, and 0.15 if you take, it will be 3,577.5. Next situation, overtime will be entirely applicable to, guys, job number X. Next one, worker Dev, you can check that 47,850 is the total wages, and 40%, 20% and 20%, 40% will be the allocation. 19,140. 0.20 if you take 9,575, sorry, 9,570. 0.40 again 19,140. Now if you take the total 17,887.5 plus 4,500 plus 19,140, so 41,527.5 will be allocated to X. 2,385 plus 9,570 will be allocated to Y. 11,955. 3,577.5 plus 19,140, 2,2,717.5 will be allocated to job number Z. If I take a grand total, 76,200. Yes, my answer is absolutely correct. So guys, boys and girls, this is how you work on this overtime and its treatment. Now, if in a question it is asked to calculate the net earnings, how much पैसा, कितना पैसा घर पे लेके गया. So, if you want to calculate the net earnings of the worker, कितना पैसा घर पे लेके गया, कैश में कितना गया, बैंक में कितना आया. So, if you want to calculate the net earning of the worker, it will be very simple. It will be very simple, and it will be, sir, you'll have to write the basic wages, yes. You'll have to write DNS allowance, yes. Then you'll have to add the overtime wages, then deduct employees contribution to provident fund and state insurance. Employees contribution to provident fund and state insurance will be deducted. It will be the net amount taken by that worker. Okay, so this is how you calculate. It is not asked in the question, but they may ask what will be the net earnings of the worker, calculate the total wages taken by that worker at home. So basic wages, yes. DNS allowance, yes. Overtime wages, yes, for the day worker. And from that total, you'll have to deduct the employee's contribution because it is additionally paid by the employer at the request of the employee. So it will be deducted. So what I told you, while calculating the labor cost, employer's contribution is added, and while calculating the earnings of the worker, employee contribution will be deducted. It's a so simple part. So here we have completed all the question, all the important question, almost 8 to 10 question we have solved. Apart from the 7 question, also 1 2 question I have taken. So thank you so much, guys. See you in the next lecture for the next part. I hope so. These lectures are really very helpful and very guys concise lecture are there. So thank you so much, guys. See you in the next lecture.